has so many slugs. Check 1, 2. Okay. Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera. Pembuka kata, lidah bicara. Izinkan saya mulakan acara. Semoga majlis disambut ceria. Mega berarak, indah berbalam. Dipuput bayu ke pohon ara. Pemanis kalam, selamat pagi. Awal bismillah, pembuka bicara. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. April Kamila Roslani, Dekan Fakulti Perubatan. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Syarul Baria Kamaruzaman, Timbalan Dekan Ijazah Tinggi. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Muhammad Yazid Jalaluddin, Timbalan Dekan Ijazah Dasar. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Sanjay Rampal, Lekraj Rampal, Timbalan Dekan Penyelidikan. Yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Ong Teng Ek, Timbalan Dekan Ijazah Penciptaan Nilai dan Perusahaan. Yang berusaha Profesor Madya Dr. Tengku Ahmad Syarizal, Tengku Dato' Omar, Timbalan Dekan Hal Ehwal Pelajar. Yang berusaha Profesor Madya Dr. Wan Yusof Wan Sulaiman, Timbalan Dekan Pembangunan, Ketua-Ketua Jabatan dan Unit Fakulti Perubatan, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, hadirin dan hadirat yang dikasihi sekalian. Alhamdulillah, syukur kehadrat ilahi dan limpah kurnia dapat kita bertemu di hari yang bermakna ini dalam Majlis Amanat Dekan tahun 2023. Terbang di awan burung jentayu, kerana penat gugur ke bumi, tampillah puan kami merayu, bersama amanat bekalan kami. Kalau nahuda, kuranglah faham, hai kuranglah faham. Alamatlah kapal akan tenggelam. Alamatlah kapal akan tenggelam. Sudah tentu nahuda Fakulti Perubatan akan melebarkan layarnya, membawa Fakulti Perubatan ke puncak jayanya. Tanpa melengahkan masa lagi, saya ingin menjemput yang dihormati, yang berusaha Profesor Dr. April Kamila Roslani, Dekan Fakulti Perubatan untuk menyampaikan ucapan dan amanat beliau kepada semua warga Fakulti Perubatan. Dipersilakan.
Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, selamat pagi, good morning to everyone, and thank you for joining me here today. The name Majlis Amanat Dekan, sounds very formal and very intimidating, but actually it's just about the faculty's management sharing with you our achievements for the past and also what our hopes and visions are for the future of the Faculty of Medicine. Now, it's no coincidence that you had a little tune from our MC today, which referenced ship and a captain. And when I'm asked why it is necessary for us to have these engagements, I like to say this quotation: it is not the ship so much as the skillful sailing that assures the prosperous voyage. So a ship cannot sail without a team, without its crew. But the crew also needs to work together, and for them to work together, you require a captain, you require a navigator, and you also require a map. Without any of these components, you will be lost at sea. And so that is really what would happen to us as a university, as a faculty, as departments. If there is no direction and if there is no clear leadership, we will be lost at sea. And in this day and age, with so much competition, both from within the country and without, if we do not look to map our future in a way that sees us constantly at the forefront and at the leading edge, we will be destined to go the way of the dinosaurs. And so really this is why I, together with the management team, have wanted to have these engagement sessions at the beginning of the year, but also periodically throughout the year in smaller engagement activities. So remember, however, that really as a ship, the Faculty of Medicine is part of a fleet, and that fleet belongs to University Malaya, all right, which comprises of many other faculties and also various institutes, as well as our hospital. Okay, but at the end of the day, we're all part of the same fleet. We're all going, hopefully, in the same direction, with nobody getting lost along the way. So it bears reminding of the vision and the mission of the university, which is to be a global university impacting the world. So I exhort you to remember that it's not just about serving our immediate local population or our own students. It is really about having impact nationally, regionally, internationally. But our core function, of course, is to push the boundaries of knowledge. And in doing so, we want to nurture aspiring leaders. And this is why we have made, at the faculty, we have made this one of our key initiatives to ensure succession planning of the leaders within the faculty and to hopefully export some of you to be leaders at the university level, at the national level, and at the international level. We also remain guided by our core values. I'm sure you all have seen this before, and in fact, all of this information I'm presenting to you is available either on the university or the faculty website, or if you would like more details, you can always get a copy of the slides from our administrative staff. So passion, oneness, integrity, sincerity, and empathy. This should be reflected in everything that we do. But we have the map as well, which are the various plans that have been crafted at the university level and also within our own healthcare ecosystem. So the different plans address different time periods. And so you have the transformation plan, which is for a longer period of 10 years, the strategic plan, which is for 5 years, and then as part of the university's various projects, we also have the Health project. So those who are asking, is it really happening? Is it really happening? It's happened already, right? And I'll just show you a little bit about the progress on the Health project. Now, the Health project, you must understand, actually came from us. So this was not really a top-down initiative. It came as a proposal from the faculty because we recognized that the different entities involved in healthcare, the 3 faculties and the 2 hospitals, were sometimes functioning at odds with each other. And so we needed to find a way to be able to work more cohesively and in an aligned fashion. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about that later. And the 4th project is, of course, the Library Strategic Plan. And you will have seen some changes within the TJ Danaraj Library, for instance. And that's also part of the initiatives. So a little bit more about the Health project. And what I want you to note from this, because I'm not going to go through every step, you will see that it has undergone many, many phases. And the first phase actually started back in 2019, so way before the pandemic. As I've said, it was born out of the recognition that we needed to find a way to work together in a more aligned and streamlined fashion. But to do this properly, it actually takes a lot of effort. First you need to understand what is the lay of the land, what are the current pain points, what are the problems that we need to overcome. And so that involves engaging stakeholders. This was phase 1, and some of you may have been involved in those feedback sessions. We had engaged an external consultant to do this, and they came up with proposals for various initiatives. And now the university itself has taken on board those initiatives and are implementing it in, again, a number of phases. You will hear a little bit more about this during the Health Town Hall, which will be held later this month, before we do the formal launching also this month. However, again, I emphasize that doesn't mean that Health is not happening. It has already happened. We have already worked out all the legal framework for it, and we have already established now the Health Management Committee. And this is a committee that has been formed directly reporting to LPU. Okay, so it's not even reporting to management, it's reporting directly to LPU. Okay, so just to say that out of the many, many initiatives that were initially proposed, that they've been further refined and streamlined. So we now have 87 initiatives that we are set to implement, or in fact have started implementing over the next few years. Some of you, or many of you, have actually been part of the Health task forces, which were looking at the various proposals within the initiatives. And these have now been formalized into committees or subcommittees which report directly to the Health Management Committee. So what we have done so far is that we have identified through the Health 3-feet plan, we've identified the low-hanging fruit. So these are the initiatives that we can implement immediately. And moving forward, we are going to look at the midterm as well as the long-term initiatives. Okay, so this is just a summary. You can see we whittled down from 98 to 87 because there was some overlap between the initiatives. And on the right-hand side, you will see how we have divided the initiatives into the different task forces, and these will be taken on by the committees or subcommittees to actually implement. Okay, so I hope, because the composition or the membership of these committees is not static. If there is a particular initiative that you're interested in helping to drive, please put up your hand, please volunteer. We will distribute to you the chairs, the names of the chairs of these various committees. So please volunteer and help us with your insight and your effort as well to make these initiatives a reality. Okay? So I'm just going to skip through this because we have quite a lot to get through. This is the town hall that I mentioned on the 10th of March. And we're hoping that the formal launch will be a little later this year. But because this is going to be quite a big thing, we have to make sure that dates of the VIPs that we wish to invite tally with ours. Okay, so you've now seen it from the university perspective and how the faculty actually is part of the university vision. But in order for us as a faculty to also progress, we need to have our own strategic plan. And we do have one. This is for the period of 2021 to 2025. There is actually a hard copy which I believe has been distributed to all the heads of department, but you can also get access to a soft copy. Just let the administrative staff know that you would like it. I would really, really encourage you to go through this. Don't worry, it's not very thick. I think Shah has got a copy. Maybe you can hold it out and people can see it's not too thick, right? A lot of it is in graphical form, so it's quite easy to look at. But it's really important because it helps us to align, okay? We are not in the business of micromanaging you, but we do need to be aligned so that we can move forward together. So I would like you to look through that if you can get hold of a copy. We're also here to provide support for you. And you can see that the Faculty of Medicine management team is actually the largest in the university of all the faculties. The reason for that is because, number one, we are the largest faculty. Number two, we are diverse. We have clinical, we have non-clinical, we have educational units and departments. And so it does require quite a lot of specific oversight. We have many, many programs. And again, those programs are of myriad composition. So you have your clinical master's programs, but you also have the research programs. You have the programs by coursework. And we have also both undergraduate as well as postgraduate, right? I'm not sure whether all of you know that we actually have more than one undergraduate program, although it would seem very often that the MBBS or UMMP program seems to take the main stage, but actually we have quite well sought after biomedical as well as nursing programs. We also have our own vision and mission, but I would say that if you look very carefully at the wording of this, it aligns very, very well with the university's vision and mission. There are statements about impact, global impact, about leadership, about research and being at the forefront of new knowledge. Okay. In addition, we have statements on our culture and values. And again, much of this ties in with the university's poised values. Okay. So this is what I mean by the plan allows you to align so that you're not moving in opposite directions. I think it's also important to remind ourselves that as the Faculty of Medicine in University Malaya, we have 4 core thrusts, okay? And what you will see there is that not only are we looking at being academically excellent, we also want to look after our people and empower them to be the best that they can be. In addition to, of course, the pursuit of impactful global research, but understanding that in order to do these 3 core thrusts, we need to have both financial as well as infrastructure sustainability. Okay? I cannot emphasize too much how important this is. If we are not sustainable financially, if we do not upkeep our buildings, we will not be able to function in the way that we want. We will not be able to run our programs. We will not be able to do our research. So when we ask you to be fiscally responsible, it is so that we can enable you and support you long into the future and not find ourselves suddenly in deficit even within our reserves. Okay, and it can very easily get that way if we do not keep an eye on the bottom line. So I hope you understand when we ask you to actually come up with your budgets, with your plans, with how we are going to get a return on investment, it is so that we can manage long-term sustainability. So out of those core thrusts, we have various goals and strategies. And again, you will see the same keywords coming up: sustainable leadership, talent management, culture, and legacy. And I hope you will have seen that over the past year or even 2 years, we have tried to inculcate this through various activities. But at the same time, we remember that we are known for our academic excellence, and this is why we continue to support high-value academic programs. And we want you to innovate in terms of your teaching and learning approaches, your methodologies, so that our students will have outstanding experiences in this area. But at the same time, we recognize that in order to future-proof our programs, we need to be running programs that prepare our graduates for the future. And that, in large part, also means empowering them to be able to achieve the heights that they have the potential to do. Okay, so it's not just about unidirectional, teacher to student. It has to be very student-centered. It has to be very much about student empowerment. And some of you will have been involved in creating such programs through the SHE program. All right, and I hope more of us will do that, because I find that we're lagging a little bit behind in that regard. When it comes to impactful global research, I think we've had a long track record of doing well in this area. We have skilled and ethical researchers, but we are aiming to support them even better. And you will have noted that we have not only the Moray program, but we have also moved out the research ethics group into the overall ethics group within MedHugh. And so we hope that in this way you'll be provided more holistic support, so that it's not just focusing on non-clinical research ethics, but also clinical research ethics. You will also have noted that there's been a lot of push to perform interdisciplinary research, and we have tried very, very hard to break down those silos. We've kind of been almost like marriage brokers, right? So we've connected non-clinical departments with clinical departments when we see that they have areas of common interest. And I hope that this will continue and that eventually it will happen organically, that we will no longer have to do it as a top-down initiative. At the same time, we do try to provide an equitable research ecosystem. Within the faculty itself, we do have some research funding through the UM Care Fund. And what we've done over the past year, and thank you to Prof. Sharul and also Prof. Tan Ai Hui, and of course Prof. Sanjay, for working out, how to equitably and objectively assess the proposals and to select the ones that are really, really deserving. Okay, so I'm happy to say that we have actually awarded quite a number of grants through Care Fund. What about infrastructure and financial stability? I mentioned about efficient fund management, and Mr. Hanif and his team has been working very hard with FOM management to really streamline and rationalize the various funds that we have within the department, within the faculty. But at the same time, we also recognize that we have to have ongoing communications with the bursar and his team. And I'm happy to say, as a result of those conversations, we have been able to secure some funds for our infrastructure as well as other activities. So I think, as academics, we tend to want to stay within our own worlds and just stay within our specialties. But unless you pay attention to the nitty-gritty of administration, you may not be able to achieve as much as you would like. Okay, so I would really implore all of you, especially the ones here who are heads of department, pay a little bit more attention to administration and how it works, because in that way you may be able to secure more benefits for your departments. Okay. Sustainable income generation, we have been working on multiple levels. So of course at departmental level, we've been asking you to think about how you may be able to bring in revenue through your various teaching and learning activities, or even through services and so on. At a faculty level, of course, we are organizing a number of activities which we hope will bring in revenue. And we have also reached out to potential donors. And so those are all ongoing. I have to say, when I took on this job, I was pleased and somewhat surprised at how generous people can be. But you have to ask. You have to ask. Okay, so don't be shy. I would say whoever you come into contact with, whatever it is that you would like some financial support with, ask. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? And then when we secure this funding, it is of course used to benefit the faculty, whether it's to support programs that you would like to run. Recently, we were asked to help support, for instance, bringing in a Fulbright scholar. That requires funding, and very often it's going to come from the faculty. If it's for you to create a course, but you need some seed funding, we potentially can help you with that. Okay? You want to run workshops, you need the appropriate facilities. So yes, we do have a lot of facilities, but many of them require upgrading. Many of them require new equipment. That requires money, and I'm afraid, dollars and cents really, really have a huge impact on how we move forward. Okay, but having said that, even with all the challenges that we have had in the past year, there have been many, many highlights. I've picked out a few, and please forgive me if your achievements are not in there, but there were too many really to pick from, so we've just chosen a few. And we've tried to marry them to the thrusts that I mentioned earlier. So when we say that we would like to have sustainable leadership, we don't just say it, we do it, okay? And we have run a number of leadership courses, firstly starting with the heads of department, but the intention is that we will eventually roll this out to other members of the staff. And in fact, we also have plans in place to create modules of leadership which can then be embedded or incorporated into your postgraduate and undergraduate programs. Okay, so Prof. Gan Jin Jin is the lead on that, and we're hoping that by the end of the year, we will have at least the module for the mid-level staff. Okay, this is just another part of the leadership course. It was actually 3 different sessions. for the same group of people, and I'm sure many of you attended it as well, and I hope that you benefited from it. When it comes to academic excellence, we have various awards that we give out. This is the Dr. Wu Lian Te Award, which is given for the best public health postgraduate student. And it is something that is supported by donations as well from the Wu Lian Te Society. And this is a model that perhaps other departments would like to follow as well, if you would like to reward your top performing students. In terms of research, we annually run the FOM Research Carnival, and this is really under the stewardship of Prof. Sanjay, has really expanded in leaps and bounds. And I'm happy to say that we not only have participation by the researchers and the students, but in the last iteration, we had a lot of industry engagement as well. And I think this is the way forward. If we want to really have impact, it should not just be for purely academic purposes. You have to see what the industry wants, and you have to be able to deliver what the industry wants. Similarly, you have to look at what are the needs of the community and try to deliver the needs of the community. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, the reason for having initiated this Majlis Amanat. Of course, last year it was a bit more small scale. This year, the team decided it needed to be a little bit more, what's the word? Gah, is it? So here I am standing in front of you, never having given a TED talk, but hopefully we're getting some of these messages across. One of the focuses that I really wanted to take on when I came into office was to address issues of oppressive workplace and the toxic workplace, as well as other issues of integrity. And I think those of you who know me know that I don't like to just say I'm going to do something, but I will actually do it. A lot of this actually came out of work that I had done amongst my own trainees, which actually showed that nationwide, the level of oppressive behaviors in the workplace was very high. And to be honest, this is true throughout the world, okay? We're not really different from any other place in the world, but maybe where we are a bit behind is our interventions, okay? Now, of course, these are very difficult areas to manage. It's quite sensitive as well. But what helps is if you have a proper procedure in place, you have a proper workflow in place, and then you make sure that that flow and that procedure is known by everyone. So last year we got together with the university's integrity unit, as well as OSH and so on, and we worked on two things. So the first one, which is what you see here, is we looked at the issues of mental health, and we came up with a workflow for that. And the second thing is that we also worked very, very closely with them to come up with a protocol, a procedure for managing issues of integrity. Now, integrity encompasses many, many different things, but it also includes things like harassment, discrimination, bullying, and so on. Of course, there's the other aspects of integrity, which is financial integrity and so on. Okay, so we now have these in place, and I hope that you as heads of department and those who are perhaps online, who are our staff, will make this known also to your students and to your junior staff so that they know where they can go to look for help. All right, so I mentioned earlier that we wanted to, bring people together, especially after the pandemic. Everyone was kind of used to just seeing each other on screen, online, and it seemed that we were growing further and further apart. So last year, you will remember that we had our Majlis Sambutan Hari Raya, Aidilfitri, where we had all the departments participating. Everyone had a stall or shared a stall, and it was really wonderful to see the creativity of all our staff as they decorated the stalls. But also, it was just nice to come together again after so long. And if you all remember, even the VC dropped by, yeah. So he was quite impressed that he was impressed at the unity, I think, of the faculty. You know, so well done to everyone, and I hope this will be a tradition for years to come. The other thing that really impacted us a lot last year was all the issues with the KPIs and the expert system, and I know it probably contributed to more than half of the mental health issues that we all had. But you know, what I would like to emphasize here is that we're all in the same boat. We are, you know, that kapal, right? If we karam, we all karam, right? And so the management is here to hear from you and to support you. And part of that was actually bringing in the people from PTM, the people from HR, etc., from to come and take part in this town hall with the staff of Faculty of Medicine. And I think a lot of things that we, as the end users, were experiencing were not actually known by the people centrally. Okay, so these sort of engagements are important so that, you know, both parties understand each other's issues. Okay, I think it has improved a little bit. I know everyone's been put through a lot of stress trying to fill in your KPIs at the last moment, but I have to say I was pleasantly surprised because I have to actually assess all of you, right? That most of you have really done very, very well. So give yourselves a round of applause. When we talk about keeping our facilities updated, facilities clean, etc., last year we participated in this Gotong Royong project, and you can see that these are all the members on the Dean's office side, but I was also aware that many of the departments were also doing their own Gotong Royong, and I think this is what we should be doing on a regular basis every year, you know, helping to maintain our facilities. Now, some of you will be saying, why do we have to do it? Isn't it the responsibility of the university? You can say that, certainly, but you also have to look at feasibility. If we look at JPPHB, which is looking after the whole university's facilities, they don't have that many staff, okay? And they tend to be focused on the big projects, okay, renovations, restructuring, and so on. So they may not have the time or the staff to actually do these smaller upkeep or maintenance measures. And I think it's a matter of pride when we welcome our new students to the faculty. Surely we don't want them to see cracks on the wall, peeling paint, you know, weeds growing out of the road. I think this is something that we, as the tuan rumah, as the host, if you are inviting people to your home, would you not want it to be spick and span? So I think this is something that we should continue. The faculty is happy to provide some funds, Encik Hanif, a little bit of funds to departments who would like to upgrade their facilities. But let's make that an ongoing conversation. Don't leave it until the roof falls down or the pipes burst and so on before we try to do something. Okay. Of course, as part of empowerment and also bringing our students together, there have been many different social activities that have been organized, and these are from various departments. And we have not kept ourselves to ourselves, recognizing that the future has to be sourced from the next generation. We've also gone out into the community, gone out to schools to actually talk about Faculty of Medicine and its programs, and it was very well received. And I have to say that this was organized at quite short notice, but I think now that we know that we would benefit from these engagements, we can organize it a little bit better. It's not just to schools from outside, but even our own PASUM. Prof. Yazid went to PASUM to give a talk to the Asasi students. And it's amazing that even though they are part of University Malaya, they don't necessarily really know what it takes to get into the medical program. And it's so competitive, right? Our undergraduate medical program, we get applicants of somewhere between 600 to 900 a year. And we can only offer less than 200 places. So that's how stiff the competition is. And I think our duty to our own PASUM students should be that we help them to prepare as best as they can so that they are competitive. Okay, so I mentioned earlier academic excellence, and as part of that, we require our programs to be accredited. But I want you to know that we not only have our programs accredited for our own benefit, but we also benefit the country. Okay, so recently we had the re-accreditation of our UMMP program, but at the same time, it was the activity that was used to accredit MQA and MMC by the World Federation of Medical Education. Okay, so they chose our program to accredit so that they could be accredited by this world body, right? So it's not just about us, it's about the whole country. And hopefully if MQA and MMC receive WFME accreditation, it means that they will be able to accredit the rest of the programs in the country to a level that is recognized by WFME. And that actually has long-term implications for our graduates because they will then be able to apply for training and education in many parts of the world, not just Malaysia. Again, about supporting academic excellence, but encouraging this culture of philanthropy, we have the FOMS program. This is the Faculty of Medicine Postgraduate Scholarship Scheme. And this is actually through funding by donors. And it helps to support postgraduate students who perhaps lack the funds to pay their fees to complete their program. And what you will see is that it's very important when you receive donations that you appreciate the donors. And so we had this FOMS appreciation ceremony, which again was attended by the VC. So he's been to our faculty many, many times last year. I think we can be proud of that because the reason for his visits is not because we're problematic, but because we're in the business of solving problems. The other thing that I really wanted us to be better at is at improving our own visibility and communicating what is happening in the faculty. I don't know about you, but when I was in the department, I very often did not know what other departments were doing. I did not know necessarily how management was engaging with management and beyond. And I think this is really important to build this spirit of community within the Faculty of Medicine. So I'd like you to take note that we do have a number of publications and forums for sharing your news of things that you do. We have, of course, JUMEC, which is our academic publication, but we also have Pulse, which is sort of a research news bulletin. But for non-research related activities, you can contact our editorial team for Rubrica. So anything that you do within your departments, whether it is for teaching and learning or it's a social activity, do let the editorial team know. And remember I talked about student empowerment? Well, the students have their own publication as well, which is called Pacemaker. And so we're hoping to see a little bit more of that over the next year. Now, another big thing was to look at our infrastructure and to see what we could do to upgrade it. Obviously, this is very dependent on funding, but we have tried our best. I think we need to understand that it is unlikely with our status as a very well-established university, it is unlikely that we will be receiving huge amounts of funding from a single source. Okay, and so this is why it's important for you to actually plan what you need to do for your infrastructure, break it up into smaller, manageable projects, and then seek for funds from various sources. Okay, so you will see this is our CSU building, and I don't know if you've walked around there, in recent times, but before the renovation, you could actually see from here even that the paint was peeling, the railings were full of rust. The top floor, where the roof is, it was infested with termites. You could see beams that were actually broken because of the termite infestation. So it was really getting to be unsafe. Okay, so we managed to beg and plead and secure some funding. So we have actually renovated the facade. You will see now that it looks quite beautiful at night, and you can actually see that it is the Faculty of Medicine, because we never had any signage to say that it was Faculty of Medicine. But just to give you some idea of how much, renovations cost, just this, to do the top floor, the roof, and the facade was how much? 1.7 million? 1.7 million. Okay? This is just the exterior, right? It's just to make the building good, to make it safe, right? So when you say, why don't we have this, why don't we have that? Or when students ask, why are our buildings like this? It costs money, okay? Now, having said that, I'm not one to just sort of lay down and die, right? So, like I said, if you have a plan, then you can start sourcing for money to do different parts of the project. Okay, so we've done this part, we've made the building good, and we're now going to move on to the interior. So it will take a while, it will take a few phases, it will take a lot of begging and pleading, but when potential funders see that you have a plan, they're more likely to give you the money. Okay? All right, so this is the biomedical science lecture theatre, which I understand the chairs were sort of not working and, saying it already. Okay, but we managed to get money for that as well. And so at least now it's looking new and brighter, and they'll be able to run their courses a little bit better. So this is what you will see in terms of our roadmap for upgrading. Yeah, we've got some which are completed. We've got some that are ongoing, and there are others that will really take a little bit more planning and funding procurement before we can move. Okay, so that's 2022. What about moving forward for 2023 and beyond? So I think one of the things we noted from the university's vision, mission, and values is that it's quite generic. It doesn't really represent us as a faculty, what we do. And so after a little bit of brainstorming, we thought maybe we needed some sort of a catchphrase or some kind of a word, a tagline that actually represents us. And so after some brainstorming, we came up with this, which is healer, because that's really what we are at the Faculty of Medicine. We are healers. And you'll see that each of the letters actually stands for something. So H is, of course, heal. E is engage, A is act, L is lead, and R is reflect. And I hope that this philosophy or this culture becomes a normal part of everything that we do. So let's break this down a little bit. H is heal, right? And you have to remember it's not just about healing our patients. We also have to heal our students. We have to heal ourselves. Because last year and the year before that were really very, very traumatizing. But before you want to stage an intervention, you have to have some idea about what the current state of play is. And so we actually conducted this survey, the happiness index amongst our staff, to see whether they were happy or not working in the Faculty of Medicine. So you'll see that the response was pretty good, and it was quite diverse as well. We managed to capture the different grades. And I think the important thing to note, we've looked at their happiness both at the faculty level, at the department level, and just their happiness with work in general. And there are some common themes. You will see that in general, people are happy and proud to be part of their faculty, part of the department. And really their main pain points are infrastructure and facilities, right, which you will see right at the bottom, and also the fact that they are very stressed. And we understand this. We're all kind of overworked, aren't we? Okay, but we've got to find ways to be able to deal with that stress, to be able to maybe reconfigure the work that we do. So sometimes it's not so much about the volume of work, but it's the kind of work. So if you can automate certain aspects of work that don't really require the creative thinking and so on, then do so, because that will free you up to do the more creative aspects of work. So I thought this was actually very useful. I think there was the statement number 4, if I'm not mistaken. Was it number 4? There was a statement about being afraid to approach your boss. And that scored very highly. I am afraid to approach my boss. So I'm saying this to the management, of course, but also the heads of department. Be approachable. Invite people to share their problems rather than scaring them, so that they keep quiet. Okay, that really stood out to me because, I'd like to think that we're all relatively approachable. So maybe we need to try better. Okay. Again, in terms of being able to provide, good service to our patients, given the trying circumstances of the past, we have been innovating about how we deliver our services. So I want to give a shout out to Primary Care, RUCA, who were the pioneers for the teleconsultation service. I note that the uptake, though, of teleconsultation has been quite slow from other departments. So I want the heads of department, please engage with your staff. I think there are still people who don't realize that the facility is available. Okay, so try to find ways to provide this teleconsultation, because it will not only decongest your clinics, but it's actually preferred by patients, especially the follow-up patients, and it will be all part of improving the patient journey. Now, we have lots of students, and I think the assumption is that the majority of them will have scholarships, and the ones that don't, come from well-to-do families, and so they will not face any problems. But that's not true. We actually have quite a large number of B40 students. We have students who come from single-parent families where they are the eldest child and they're actually supporting their siblings. Okay, so even if they have a scholarship, it's very often not enough. Okay, so at the faculty, we have something called the Tabung Kebajikan, Faculty Perubatan, and what we do is we raise funds so that we can support such students. And in fact, the upcoming FOM Gala is to try and help us to replenish those funds. Okay, so if you think that it doesn't have impact, well, I'd like you to hear from Badrul. Can we put on the sound?
Saya ada 3 orang adik-beradik. Ayah saya sudah meninggal dunia, mak saya tak bekerja, so di rumah sepenuh masa. Dapat daripada bantuan kerajaan, per keso 300 lebih sebulan, zakat 200. Sebelum dapat bantuan tu, selalunya saya akan gunakan dalam RM10 sehari lah untuk makan apa semua tu. Tengah hari, selalunya RM5 je saya akan beli nasi RM5 kat kafe. Ayam apa semua tu saya bancuh sendiri dekat dalam bilik. Selalunya saya akan beli biskut-biskut lah untuk makan macam saya ada terima bantuan daripada MARA. Dia tampung untuk yuran pengajian dan juga kos sara hidup sedikit lah. Saya kena asingkan daripada yuran makan apa semua tu untuk tampung yuran college lah. Jadi untuk cukupkan juga sebab itu memang wajib kena bayarkan. So saya kena kurangkan untuk makan lah. Dan juga untuk kalau ada emergency nak beli apa-apa ke barang barang keperluan medical macam stetoskop apa semua tu kan. So kena asingkan juga lah. Untuk buku, teks apa semua tu, pejabat dekan ada bagi bantuan. So dah dapat dah buku tu, and then kad apa semua tu dah dapat subsidi. Okay, sebab saya dapat 2 bantuan daripada pejabat dekan kan, bayaran college dan juga satu lagi duit saku lah, duit pembelajaran bulanan kan. Selalunya sebelum ni kalau makan tengah hari tu tak makan malam dah. Kalau makan malam tu bukan malam lah, petang kan. Petang tengah hari tak makan sebab nak jimat duit. Tahulah sebab sebelum ni sebelum dapat tu kan, mak macam risaulah setiap selalulah tanya cukup dah duit sebab memang dah tahu kata tak cukup, bukan tak cukup lah, macam dia akan sempitkan sikit pembayaran harian untuk makan. Maksud tanya lah makan ke tak kan. Saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada pihak fakulti kerana meluluskan permohonan saya terhadap bantuan ini. Jadi sikit sebanyak dia dapat membantu saya untuk menyala hidup saya di sini dan makan apa semua tu. And then dia dapat membuat saya lebih fokus untuk belajar daripada memikirkan hal-hal masalah kewangan. Dan saya nak ucapkan sekali lagi terima kasih atas bantuan ini.
Yeah, so he's not alone. And the thing is with many of these students is they very often don't come forward and ask for help because there is pride, that you don't want to be seen as being needy. But when we do manage to identify them through various means, we do hold out a helping hand. And so I hope that, if you have not already done so, if your departments have not already done so, please do come and attend our faculty's gala dinner. Perhaps get your alumni also to take up a table so that we can help students like Badrul. And he really is not an isolated case. There's quite a few of them. Okay, I mentioned just now the mental health helpline. So this is now available, and we hope that again you'll spread the word so that students know that there is help. But it's also for staff, so spread the word to your staff as well. Okay, so that was HEAL. We now have Engage, and I mentioned earlier that our faculty is the largest in the university, and really if you take staff and students together, we are responsible for more than 4,000 human beings. Okay, and that is really like a small university. If you look at some of the private medical schools or private universities, they are much, much smaller than this. And our people are not just restrained or restricted to working in the hospital or working in the faculty. And we've tried to inculcate this service to the community ethic, not just amongst our staff, but also amongst our students. Now, you will have heard of Sulam, and this was actually born out of a Ministry of Higher Education initiative. It's part of their development plan. And what they wanted to look at was high-impact educational practices, but with a mindset of impacting community service, and they wanted it to be student-led. Okay, so these are the areas that they wanted to address: love, happiness, mutual respect. And so in our faculty, our students have actually embarked on a number of community projects. Okay, and one of them was this initiative called Hebat, Henti Elak Basmi Asap Tembakau. So it's a stop smoking kind of activity. And this was an outreach program to one of the local schools. So we had our students going out to talk to the school students. This is just a short video.
When it all feels like everything's impossible and you don't fit right in a crowd, go out and break the mold. If you don't try, you'll never fly, but you gotta be brave. Say you're out of luck, knocked down in the dumps. You got a fragile heart, I know, 'cause so do I. Yeah, stuck here struggling, harder to believe that things may fall apart. You can't give up the fight. If you don't try, you'll never fly. But you gotta be brave. Yeah, gotta be brave. Yeah, there is a remedy, patched up easily. Learn to love yourself and never hide the scars. There's been damage done, but the battle's won. You were strong enough to get to where you are. Yeah, sometimes running down low takes you all the way home. Prove how far you can go. You gotta show the world when it all feels like everything's impossible and you don't fit right. In a crowd, go out and break the mold. If you don't try, you'll never fly. But you gotta be brave. Yeah, gotta be brave. Yeah.
Islam,
You can stand
and she's
tall,
done quite a
you
number
can stay
of
strong,
projects
you
with
can
them. But you can see, I'm really proud of our students. They actually do this very much on their own as well. Okay, it's not just about going out into the community, but it's also bringing the community to us. During our research carnival, we had this kid science labs. This was really quite interesting because we had school children coming in and being exposed to the labs and the kind of work that can be done there. Also, more recently, the anatomy department also had their open day, where they had school children coming in and looking at the displays in the anatomy dissection hall, which was quite interesting. I don't know what it is about kids, but they like gruesome things, right? You would have thought that they would be afraid, and I think the department was also a bit concerned, so they set a minimum age limit, but you had a lot of younger children also wanting to come. Yeah, so I think these are very good outreach programs. So outreach doesn't necessarily mean you have to go out. You can also bring the community to you. Many of you will be familiar with Bhakti Siswa, which is, again, another community outreach program. Again, it is almost entirely proposed and managed by our medical students, but of course with some supervision from our academic staff. So we had some problems running this in the early part of the pandemic, but last year they were able to conduct an activity, and this was done in post-Betau. So generally with Bhakti Siswa, they try to go out into sort of more rural or indigenous communities rather than just underserved communities within urban areas. So they go out to rural areas. And very often they conduct health-related activities. So they'll do medical checks and so on. It's actually quite helpful for the community. But what we find is that the students themselves appreciate it very much, and they feel very empowered and appreciative that they're able to contribute to the community.
Lihatlah ke mata, bukakan hati, dengarkan panggilan sahut seruan. Aku merdeka, hari ini hari kemenangan aku. Bukan susah untuk susah, no, bukan senang untuk senang, yeah. Kalau tak cuba maka akan belajar berkata.
Some of it is taken from MedSoc funds as well.
Hari ini hari untuk bergembira. Di sana, di sini, kemana ku pergi, nyanyilah hari ini aku merdeka. Cantik di mata.
Okay, so in the interest of time, because I've been given a time warning, I'm just going to quickly go through this. So it's not just our medical students, also our students in other areas also have outreach or community projects. So this is someone from the MGRAD program. Do you want to turn up the sound?
That we conducted last year, December 2022. So MOMPAS is a postgraduate society from the Department of Molecular Medicine. So we have been a student body by the students for the students. So inilah aktiviti-aktiviti yang kami, ini sebenarnya hanya sikit je. This is just a small bit of the pictures of the activities that we have done. These are some of the activities yang kami buat masa pandemic COVID-19. Sebab masa tu tak ada siapa yang boleh masuk lab. Nobody could enter the lab to do research. So that committee actually came up with an idea untuk buat symposium, the first ever symposium. This means that we are actually expanding. Sebab selama ni activities of MOMPAS is within the department. So this would be something outside the department yang engaging. So yang symposium and molecular medicine open day ni we had 3 different agendas. It was actually very engaging sebab lepas every presentation ada je student yang akan tanya soalan during this the event. So we could see that the students were indeed engaged with the presentations, especially undergrads and other postgrads as well. We had around 10 booths at the center point. Bukan sahaja life sciences company. I think separuh daripada booth yang ada kat center point adalah life sciences company macam Matrios, all those famous life sciences company. Sebab department kami ada relationship dengan mereka sebab students selalu beli barang.
So you can see that it's not just the clinical departments that can have engagement with community and so on. Even as a non-clinical department, you can have activities that allow engagement with community, with industry, and so on and so forth. Of course, I can't leave out all our engagements with international collaborators, and I have to say that since the immigration rules were relaxed, we've been inundated actually with visits from potential international collaborators. So these are just some of them. Some of them wish to engage with us for research collaborations, others for teaching and learning. But you can see that at the moment, UM is often seen as the first stop if they're looking for a partner in Malaysia. Okay, so I hope that we will continue to leverage on that. So quite a few agreements that were signed as well. And because of the sheer number of these engagements that we have, we've tried to shore up our internationalization unit. So as you know, we have a new head of unit now, Prof. Vairavan. And if there are those of you who are interested in this, please join his team because we really have a lot of engagements such that not only do we have a head, we also have 2 deputies now. And we have asked them, so Prof. Tengku Ain is one and the other one is Prof. Q, and we've asked them to focus on different regions. So Prof. Q will be looking at the Asia Pacific region and Prof. Tengku Ain will be focusing more on the West. Okay, so it's a lot of work because when you partner with people, it's important that it is clear from the outset what it is that you wish to collaborate on. And so that generally means drafting an MOU or some other kind of agreement. So the IUFOM will be able to help you with that. The templates are actually available on the website, but in terms of fine-tuning it, they'll be able to help you with that and also to help as an intermediary with the university. Okay, so I hope we'll continue to do that. Now, a little bit about research. So these are just some of the activities that the research office has done to engage. So these are ongoing collaborations, yeah? This year's Carnival theme, celebrating innovation, industry,
and community engagement aims to emphasize how UM's research drives innovation and impacts the global community and industry.
It is imperative that engagement with industry start before you draft your research proposal so that the research outcome will be of immediate benefit.
And give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, so I think you can already see from the presentation that, Faculty of Medicine not only thinks, but it acts. Okay, and so maybe the next few slides is just to show how, when we have identified a problem, we've actually acted on it. So these are the results of a poll or survey that's department collected to look at whether there have been demonstrations of oppressive behaviors in the workplace. And while I am happy that the vast majority have not seen any of these instances, it's a little bit worrying that there are still a significant number that say it's uncommon or it's very common, and really we should be seeing zero. We should be seeing zero across all of these. And so, we need to do something about this. And I would like your help to stand up to this unacceptable behavior. It is unacceptable, okay? We understand that sometimes there are stressors. Nevertheless, the behavior itself is unacceptable, okay? And we need to, if there are stressors, we need to work with the transgressor to try and remove those stressors, and we need to provide support to the victim. Okay, so again, we act, right? So we've acted. I will say that the university has a very well structured integrity unit. It is just that sometimes people don't know that it exists and they don't know how to access it. So I'm putting this up there. It is all available. There are QR codes which you can use, and this is actually on the university website. We have also worked with them to work out how you can get support. And all of this, don't worry, all of this is now on our website. Okay, so we call it emotional wellness assistance. And this was thanks to a lot of hard work by Prof. Tengku Syarizal. Okay, so he was texting me at, 4 in the morning today, right, to tell me that, yes, it's all done and it's there and it's available. Okay, so this is how hard your faculty's management works. Okay, so please, again, help to disseminate this. This will be under the highlights section. So if you go to the Faculty of Medicine's website, the landing site, at the top you will see highlights. One of the headings is highlights. If you click on that under news, it will take you to this. But also on the landing site itself, if you scroll right down to events, is it events? On the front page, if you scroll down the page, you will actually also see the link to this. Okay, so it's now available, and I hope you will use it. Okay, when it comes to research, of course, we have many eminent researchers here who have international networks. One of the longest running, perhaps, is the Respire project. And I believe it's just been renewed, so there will be additional funding, if I understand correctly. So this is something that the rest of us can also aspire to respire, right? Okay, and I'm very, very happy that we have achieved. Yes, Prof. Sanjay, we have achieved our research targets this year. Well done to everybody. In spite of all the aggro and the challenges, we have actually exceeded our publication target, and I hope that this will carry on to 2023. Okay, lead. I think without leadership, as we've said earlier, the kapal will karam, right? And also it means that we will become fragmented, okay? And when we're fragmented, we cannot reach our full potential. I am happy to say, however, that in the Faculty of Medicine, we are not short of leaders. It's just that sometimes they don't know that they are leaders. Okay, people seem to think that being a leader means you must have a title, dean. Actually, the title doesn't make you a leader. Okay? You as a leader make the title. Or you don't even need to have a title to be a leader, right? The next person, of course, has both the titles as well as the leadership qualities, right? And we are very sorry that she will be retiring this year. But we hope that Prof. Adiba will continue to engage with us. I'm sure you all will have heard already that following retirement, she will be taking on a position as the Vice Chancellor for Monash Malaysia. So, heartiest congratulations to Prof. Adiba, and, also really our deepest gratitude for everything that she has done for the faculty. Now, the next slide I did not put in, okay? But I guess it's just to say that, for our surgical colleagues, we've often thought, because we're so busy doing surgery and seeing our patients, that it's not possible for us to also take on leadership roles. So I'm just saying that it is possible, okay? And that you can do it even at international level, because people are really looking for those of us who have ideas and who are also willing to spend the time to execute those ideas. Okay, so can be done. And we have at every level, we've got winners and leaders. Okay, so these are just some of our scientists who have won awards for their research. We've got our senior colleagues who have received international recognition for a lifetime of achievement. So you have Prof. Tong here, who was the recipient of the ASHG Advocacy Award. This is based in the United States. I think he's the only Malaysian to have received it. You have Prof. Cindy Tay, who won the L'Oreal UNESCO Fellowship for Women in Science Young Talent Program. And I believe we've got some applicants from our faculty for this year's award as well. So, hopefully we'll see more winners. Again, another very senior alumnus, Professor Ng Kwan Hong. So he's got so many awards, it's hard to list them all. But he was recently admitted as a fellow of the World Academy of Sciences. Okay, so that's again another very prestigious body. What about grants? We've all been moaning about the lack of availability of grants, but I'm telling you, we've got all these people from our faculty who have managed to secure sometimes $1 million grants. Okay, and these are international grants. We have those that have managed to secure national grants, as well as, we must not forget that CIC is also a conduit for many industry grants, and we've got, so many of our colleagues here who have managed to secure huge grants, actually. And these count a lot towards our faculty KPI, because the CIC grants are also counted from last year onwards. Okay, so don't feel like these are meaningless. They're actually very, very important. Right, and then we have the top 2% scientists of 22. That this is a list that is compiled by Stanford University, and you can see so many of our Faculty of Medicine staff are in that list. Okay, very proud of them all, so a round of applause for them as well. So as I said earlier, it's not, it's at every level. So even our students have been winning prizes, even with the restrictions of the pandemic. So we've got winners at SIMPIC, which is the microbiology competition that is usually hosted by Thailand. There's the winners in the InterVarsity Medical Olympiad, as you can see in the center. Okay, and the last one is a poster presentation. Okay, so our students are very active. And because of that, we feel like we really need to support them. And part of that is ensuring that our curricula are always updated and that have an eye to the future. And as you know, the past few years, we've been working very hard on the National Postgraduate Medical Curriculum. And while it's seen as a initiative, actually, it came from Ministry of Higher Education. There was a directive to the Medical Deans Council to create a unified curriculum. But then that, of course, needed a champion. And so the initial chair for the MPMC was Prof. Adiba. And so naturally, was at the forefront of many of the specialty curricula. But make no mistake, this is actually a national program. Okay, and I'm happy to say that in 2021, we launched the first 11 curricula, 11 specialties. And last year, we launched a further program that was the cardiothoracic national curriculum. And hopefully by this year, we will launch the remaining specialties. Okay, so looking out for that. One of the key components of this curriculum is the fact that trainers need to be trained. Okay, so it's no longer sufficient for you to say you're a trainer just by dint of being an expert in your field. Okay, because the skill sets for a trainer are a little bit different from the skill sets for being a good surgeon or a good radiologist. And so over the past maybe just over a year, we have created the curriculum for trainers, and we have rolled it out across the country, across all specialties. So I'm very proud of that. And to date, we have trained nearly 400 trainers across the country, across the specialty. A lot of support provided by Merdu and Prof. Jamuna, Vinod, and their teams, all doing the background work that you don't see. Okay, but they've worked very, very hard. But I have to say, it's also been income generating. Yeah, so you get a little bit of money from that as well. Okay, so I think this is what we want to do moving forward. See the problem, solve the problem, make a little money in the process. Okay? All right. This was just to say that leadership is not just within the faculty. You want to impact the country, right? Or impact the world. So if you're given the opportunity to become the chair of a committee that really has the potential or the power to make meaningful change, then put your hand up. Okay, so we are currently the chair of the National Conjoint Committee for Postgraduate Medical Degrees. This is the committee that actually reports to Majlis Dekan, but is responsible for postgraduate clinical master's programs. Okay, and a lot of the things that we had to do during the pandemic, including making those decisions to continue the programs or delay the programs, or overseeing proposed new programs, that actually comes to JBRP. Okay, so in future, if you are asked, put your hand up. Of course, make sure that you're prepared for it. Make sure that you're prepared for the hard work that comes with it, but deliver, importantly. Okay, another example of solving problems. We've long noted that there is perhaps an educational gap in our undergraduate program, as well as an employment gap after they graduate from the program. We've all heard about the problems of getting house officer posts for our many graduates. Okay, so to try and solve that problem, we've been in discussions in Merdu, and Prof. Jamuna is spearheading this, into how we can introduce an intercalated year within our medical program. So they would then have a bachelor, perhaps in medical sciences. Okay, some of you may have studied abroad where this is already a norm, but unfortunately, it's not in Malaysia. And what we want to offer is not just intercalation in the traditional sense, where perhaps you take a year out to do some research in anatomy or you do something in physiology and so on. We wanted to actually offer them an intercalated year, perhaps to do AI or to work with engineering, something that if we look towards the future where digital healthcare is going to be a big thing, we want to have graduates who have some basic grounding in that. Okay, so what we envisage is something like this, where they would do their first 2 years, and then they would take the intercalated year. And it may be that some of them will choose to leave the program at that point to pursue a non-medical career, but they would have a degree. Or the others would then go on to complete their stage 3 and graduate as medical doctors. So as you can see, we think the intercalated year could include things like biomedical engineering, digital health, or perhaps research in the basic sciences. Okay, almost there. We're at the R now of healer. And R is for reflect. Okay, I think if we don't understand our past, we can't know our future, and we can't know our present, and we can't know our future. Okay, so we've spent actually a lot of time reflecting. I'm happy to see that departments have also done their own activities to reflect. This was unit Perubatan Sukan, so Prof Nahar's unit. They had their Bengkel Hala Tuju. But here at the Faculty of Medicine, the management also had its own Bengkel plan strategic. Now, I have to say that when you say strategic planning retreat, it's not necessarily a retreat to plan the strategy, because you already have the strategy. It is really to monitor your progress, to identify any gaps or delays, and then to work on solutions. So we already have the strategic plan. We had that. We worked on that in 2020, and it was launched in 2021. Generally, I think moving forward, what I would suggest is if you have these kinds of planning meetings, ideally you do it at the end of the year for the year ahead. Okay, so for our management as well, we are going to have a planning meeting or retreat at the end of the year for 2024. We understand that there may be changes in leadership and so on, so it's nice to be able to hand over something that has been worked on to make the transition easier. Okay, so I would really encourage that every department does something like this. In your planning, you can also look at things like succession planning in terms of human resource, recruitment strategies, financial strategies, and so on. Again, if you need help, if you need input from management, we're happy to go in there. I remember when Department of Surgery, when we were doing our, was it one of our curricular review for our postgraduate and undergraduate programs, we would invite Prof. Adiba. At that time, Deputy Dean for undergraduate was Prof. Young, so we would invite her. We'd invite Prof. Jamuna, okay, so that we could get input from the faculty as to whether what we were doing was the right direction. Okay, so planning. Now, planning also extends to our facilities, our infrastructure. So this is an area that we like to call the quadrangle, thanks to Aizura's suggestion. And it's the area that is opposite center point. Okay, so you've got the lawn, and surrounding that you've got sort of like a U-shaped structure. So that whole area is called the quadrangle, and it needs to be upgraded. But again, funding. So we're going to go through it step by step. We're going to start first with the building where the skills unit is, the clinical skills unit is. But the other parts of the building, the MD labs, the anatomy resource center, and the anatomy dissection hall will also be upgraded. So these are some of the things that we've done and some of the things that we are planning. The anatomy dissection hall, many of us have spent our medical student days in this hall, but we recognize now that the program has changed and how we train them have changed. And so although currently it looks still quite nice. We have to recognize that we're moving more towards sort of running cadaveric workshop for skills training and more sort of postgraduate level. Okay, so we're hoping that with cash injection, we will be able to upgrade it to be on par with many of the simulation centers in the world that teach operative skills. We expect that it will cost about 5 million. So we'll figure out where that money is going to come from. But we'll get there. I've promised Aizura that we'll get there. Similarly, with the skills unit, I told you just now about termites and roofs leaking and falling in and so on. But we managed to make it look a little bit better now. So you see the operating theatre actually looks quite clean and bright. We've got a nice pantry, and we've got a meeting room and so on. So it's actually quite nice now. This is the top floor of CSU. The floor below that, we've got plans to convert that. At the moment, there is just a functioning simulation ward that the nurses use. But we want to get away from the sort of, philosophy that, oh, this area belongs to one department. It should be for everyone to use. Okay, so we'll be upgrading that. We'll be creating a few simulation wards on one side, and on the other side will be what we call a simulation arcade. So that's where you'll have all your gadgets, your endoscopy simulators, your laparoscopic surgery simulators, and so on. So that, I understand, is going to take place this year, Prof. Wan? Yes? Okay. And then it will, the renovation of the space, because at the moment a lot of that space is actually laboratories which are not being used because we've got lots of laboratories elsewhere. So that whole floor will be renovated. And then it would be a case of finding the funds to populate it, but perhaps we can work on some private public partnerships in order to do that. So again, 11 million, which I will figure out, sell an arm, sell a leg, something like that, But yeah, this is how much it costs. This is how much it costs. If people ask you, why haven't you done it? Well, this. Okay, the labs, I have to say that the labs did undergo some degree of renovation already, but there's still areas for improvement. And in particular, we want it so that you almost have a control center if you're running workshops and so on. So people can be in different parts, but you have a control center that you can communicate with each of those spaces, and that you can perhaps have two-way communication. Okay, so hopefully instead of the left, which is what it looks like now, we'll be a little bit more on the right with upgraded AV facilities. Not so expensive, but still some costs there. But I think this is very doable. Okay. Finally, on the ground floor of CSU, we want to create the Faculty of Medicine Medical Museum. Now, that may or may not be the final name, but it's going to be a medical museum. And you say, but don't we already have a museum? Well, we have spaces that function as museums. So we have the Pathology Museum, which is closer to the hospital site near Merdu. And then we have the Anatomy Resource Center, which is on the ground floor at the moment. But they're separate. They're widely separate. Then they're basically laid out as resources, but they're not really in line with modern concepts of museums, which should be more interactive, which should be constantly changing, which should have a lot of engagement from the community. Okay, so that is the plan, that we will consolidate these two museums into a single space, which is going to be on the ground floor. So we've got some floor plans there. We've been working actually with the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences as well as the UM's curators to design this. Prof. Julia is heading the project, but she works very closely with management. And hopefully it will look quite nice and will be a potential way for engaging with the public. Already we have a lot of inquiries from schools who want to visit us and want to bring their students to come and see what medical careers, medical training could be like. Okay, and it's not just going to be the space indoors. In the outdoors, we are going to redo the area where you see the container and the stump of the tree. So we're going to construct a cafeteria there, which will also hopefully have a shop where we can sell our, souvenirs and other knickknacks. Okay, so I understand Prof. Wan has just told me today that we have got approval from the university to renovate the ground floor. He's very quiet, but he does a lot of work behind the scenes. So I'm very grateful for Prof. Wan. And Cik Firdaus tells me that if we get all these approvals, hopefully by the end of the year, we can launch the museum. Okay, so watch this space. Just finally, to remind you of some faculty events that we hope everyone will participate in together. Okay, of course, we have all our festivals, so Hari Raya, Deepavali, Christmas. We're hoping to have a sports or family week. Academia Day, which is in October. We hope that it will be a little bit more lively this year. Our Majlis Lafaz Ikra Pelajar this year will be in December. Now, you said you would say that we just recently had one. That was for last year because they were a bit delayed. But for this year, they should be finishing on time, and so it will be in December. Finally, and this is under Prof. Tengku Shahrizal's portfolio, we're going to create something called the Faculty Heritage Walk. So this is going to be something that if you have visitors, they may want to go on this, and we envisage that it will be part of student empowerment, that we will have members of our student body that will be driving this. And so it's basically like a mini tour. They will take you around, the faculty around the hospital and maybe around the campus. And this is very much in line with what is done, say, in the Harvard campus. They actually offer tours, and it's all run by the students. So not only is it empowering the students, not only is it inviting engagement from the community, that it is bringing visibility to our heritage, but it is also potentially income generating. Okay, so that's what we plan for 2023. I guess in summary, and this is my philosophy in life, I guess, is that the pessimist complains about the wind. We have many colleagues that complain, and I want to highlight the distinction between complaining and providing constructive feedback. Okay? A complaint is just that. There's no subsequent measure after that. There's no solutions being proffered. Okay? It's just complaining. The optimist, on the other hand, expects everything to just change. Okay? But doesn't necessarily do anything to bring about that change. What I am, and what I hope many of you are, is a realist. You know what the situation is. You know what your resources are. Yes, you can work towards increasing your resources, but in the meantime, you need to work with what you've got. Okay, so I am hoping that Faculty of Medicine, while we expect the worst, we hope for the best, and at the end of the day, we make it happen, because that's what we are. That's who we are. All right? Thank you very much. Are we taking questions? It's on. No?
Check, okay. Terima kasih Prof. April for a long, inspiring amanat for today.
Sorry.
Is there any question? Now is a Q&A session. Is there any question from the floor or anybody from out there? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof. April. I think that was indeed very, very inspiring for everyone, and I would say a junior member like myself. I think the headways that you have laid out are very clear. I was just wondering, I think one of the things that you mentioned was sustainability and empowerment, and especially with regards to the workforce. And I was just wondering, in terms of that strategy and sustainability of the workforce and attraction of talent, whether we have made headways in trying to attract the talent and to sustain the workforce. Thank you.
Okay, so this has been a problem for Faculty of Medicine for as long as I can remember. Okay, and in fact, one of the key reasons for having established UMSC was actually about retaining talent. And I think this is something that all of you need to understand about UMSC. UMSC is not built on the same business model as a private hospital. Okay, its prime function is to retain talent. Okay, so when you, because I hear a lot of complaints about UMSC and its management and so on, but I think unless you are actually involved in managing it, you perhaps don't understand some of the constraints and the restrictions that it faces. Okay, so that has been an initiative in the past. But recognizing that the current state of UMSC is perhaps too constrained by its facilities, there is a plan in place to actually build a new hospital, which will allow more of our staff to actually practice in UMSC at more reasonable hours, because I understand at the moment that a lot of people are doing it outside of office hours, including myself. But yeah, so that's about increasing the opportunity. As a stopgap measure, people are going to be allowed to practice in Columbia, Asia down the road. Okay. Now, having said that, I think although we are the largest faculty, size is not the only thing. And we shouldn't be trying to recruit people who are actually not suited to a life in academic medicine. It takes a very special type of person. All of you are very special, okay? It takes a very special type of person to thrive in this environment, okay? So while I understand and recognize that you do need people to help run the services, the people that you recruit should not only be to run clinical services, because that is where you run into trouble. Every additional body that you bring in actually increases the expectations in terms of academic output. Okay? I also understand that you do need bodies to come in to teach. And our programs are actually it's our core function, isn't it, to run our programs. So without the necessary staff, we can't run the programs. So how do I reconcile this? The fact that you need the right people, but at the same time, you do need people to run programs and to run services. So what we've tried to do in the last year or two is to be a little bit more flexible and creative in the way that we employ people. And so that's why we've been encouraging certain departments that were having trouble recruiting to make use of part-time staff, visiting consultants and so on. So those are stopgap measures. I think we need to strengthen our early recruitment phases. And we have, of course, the SLAP-SLY program, but there are some administrative problems with that, which we have to try and fix. Okay, because the criteria are so strict that even if we have the body, we find that we can't bring them in. Okay, and then it's tied to existing staff retiring and so on. So it's very rigid and very difficult to take advantage of. But we are in conversations with the university management to help them understand our unique problems. And I'm happy to say that Prof. Yatima, seems to be willing to adapt the criteria so that it's more suited to the clinical faculty. So that's why recently we asked the heads to quickly, bring in their nominees for SLAP-SLY. Okay, that's a sort of more long-term kind of progress. But I think. And the other thing is, of course, negotiating additional number of posts. So I want to tell you that if it's DU posts, we don't have a shortage, okay? So if you got the bodies, just let us know. In fact, as you may be aware, we have been attending a number of ministerial workshops where we're looking at solving this problem of insufficient or lack of specialist medical care in the country. Okay, so as part of that, we have, through the university, we have negotiated extra numbers of academic posts for the Faculty of Medicine. Okay, so Prof. Yatima assures me that DU, no problem, just find the bodies and find them quick. Okay, but if you're talking about attracting, now, attracting from the perspective of, being in the oldest university, the #1 university, and having the opportunity to do research, teaching, etc., I don't think that is the problem. The problem is when members of our own staff undermine that effort. Okay, members of our own staff encourage people to leave. Members of our own staff, say don't come. Okay, this is not something that I would expect United Faculty to be doing. Of course, it's tough, but anywhere in the world that you go in an academic institution, it is tough. In fact, we have it pretty good because the vast majority of our staff are tenured. If you were to go to Singapore, do you think the vast majority of the university staff are tenured? No, they're all on contract. 2-year contract, 3-year contract. Unless you're a very, very senior professor who has really earned your tenure, then you might be offered that. Same in the US. Okay? So, and we have so many benefits. You have health benefits, right? You have your pension and so on and so forth. The problem, I think, is when people have not figured out how to do what is expected of them, and therefore they don't perform to the level that's expected, and they don't ask for help, then of course it seems as if it's impossible to achieve. Okay? But you should not then poison the water by putting off other people, your students, your staff, and so on, right? So that's one. Number two is, of course, where I mentioned just now, there are instances of oppressive workplace behaviors. And I think we should be vigilant. If you're a bystander, you should report it. Okay? And we will take it seriously. The members of the faculty management, whenever there's been a complaint brought to us, we have taken it seriously. Some of them have gone up to integrity. We have had people expelled. We have had people to be put on or suspended from clinical work. Okay? But finally, in the end, all of you have to do the job of attracting people. It cannot just come from management. We can do the management kind of things, make sure there's enough posts, make sure we provide visibility and so on and so forth. But in the end, what will attract people to you is your relationship with them. If you nurture them from the beginning, if you provide the environment for them to reach their potential, they will want to come back to you. But bring them back early. Don't wait until, they have been worn down by work elsewhere and then decide that it's not for them. Okay? And we will try our very best to offer those opportunities here. Yeah. The other thing that we have been doing is, not just casting our net locally, we also cast our net abroad. And so many of you, I am sure, will be attending conferences abroad and so on. It should not just be about you presenting your work. It should be about you engaging with particularly the Malaysian diaspora, but also, other stuff. I will tell you that there are a lot of inquiries now from the UK because the work situation there is not great either. In fact, it's probably a little bit worse than us. Okay, so put your feelers out. Engage with people outside of Malaysia, bring them in. Okay, and at faculty level, we will try to make sure the application process is as painless and seamless as possible, although that's not entirely within our control. But we try. Honestly, you have to understand in HR, in I think there's only like 3 people to serve the whole university. So again, what our strategy has been when we see that there are these pain points where the delays are central, what we do is we offer to management to actually offload some of that work so that we do it for ourselves and we show them that we have a process so that they can be assured that it's done to the appropriate level so that in the end it's just an endorsement centrally. Yeah, but like I said, that's not entirely within my control. Because the other aspect is the fact that you need to have external assessors. So if you nominate external assessors and the assessors don't reply, that's where a huge amount of delay is actually. Okay, so please make sure that those that you nominate as your external assessors know what they're supposed to do and that they respond in a timely fashion. I don't know if that answered your question. Yeah, it's complex. But we're not the type of people to just lay down and die, right? No, we're not. You can see it. Otherwise, you would have, when the pandemic hit us, we would have all just collapsed, and we didn't. So I think we're much stronger than we think. You're talking about undergraduate or postgraduate? What's stopping you? So I will tell you what the difficulty is there, because postgraduate, unless you're talking about the clinical master's programs, yes, we can market it. We were just talking about working with MRD, which is the university's marketing branch. Wait, choke, one at a time, okay? Must be methodical, okay? All right, so postgraduate, if you're talking about specialties, then you're talking about our master's programs. The difficulty with the master's programs is that our main goal is to provide specialists for the country. As it is, we're being asked to increase the number of training posts so that we can train more for the country. So it's not really a priority to bring in international students for our master's program. Okay, and if they do come in, you have to remember that they actually can't go to Ministry of Health hospitals for their rotations. They have to be fully in-house. Okay, so while I'm not saying no, it's not a priority. We're not like going out there trying to look for international students there. But if you have the odd one or two, yeah, no problem. Subspecialty is actually not under the faculty. And we are trying to negotiate bringing it over to the faculty so that we can use our resources to, you know, make it more visible and make it more marketable and so on. But at the moment, it's still in progress. Yeah. So I would like to. I would very, very much like to. But at the moment, it's not under our purview. Well, why don't you guys do your bit, and because you have a foot in the other side, right? This is for subspecialty.
For both subspecialty as well as FOM. So your undergraduate degree, they are not recognized by the MMC, so that will make them difficult to register as a doctor. So then we decided to be a little bit too difficult for them. They can't register as a doctor. They will have to take the exams. And we've got lots of Filipino training.
So again, try not to mix everything up together. You're talking about clinical master's programs? So who want to come for subspecialty? So you mean joining us as academic staff? Okay, let us know, because we can try to work on that. I have to say, I agree with you. It is actually very, very difficult if they do not have a primary degree that is registrable in MMC. There are ways around that, but it takes a while. And you have to ask yourself whether you really want someone like that as your staff, because remember, they come as academic staff. It means the KPIs of the department and the faculty go up. Okay, every additional person you employ, KPIs go up. So I'm not saying we don't employ, but we have to make sure we employ the right people. Yeah.
Any other question?
Wow, I'm amazed. There's no money questions.
So, is there a video? Huh?
Ada.
Okay. If there's no question, I think next will be the video show, I think.
Tak ada lah. Okay, just to wrap up. Is it on? So how many days was it? 3 days? 3 days and nights, right? The nights, we had a lot of meetings because we have to sort of plan out. So it's work, you know. We're not just here having fun. Okay, this bit was having fun, but Okay, so really before ending, I just want to thank my whole management team, the administrative staff who really, they work day and night to get all of this ready, and to thank all of you also for your forbearance and your patience with us as we try to solve your problems. But please don't stop coming to us and telling us what the issues are, but increasingly I hope you will be part of the solution. Join us so that we can navigate this bright future ahead. So with that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much, Prof. April. Semoga nahoda Fakulti Perubatan berjaya membawa kita dengan strategik yang telah dirancangkan menuju ke mercu kejayaan untuk 2023. Demikian berakhirnya amanat yang disampaikan oleh Prof. Dr. April Kamila Roslani, Dekan Fakulti Perubatan untuk Majlis Amanat Dekan tahun 2023. Burung bayan terbang sekawan hinggap seekor di gerbang batu. Sekian Majlis Amanat Dekan. Moga ketemu di lain waktu. Bunga dedap di atas para anak dusun, pasang pelita, kalau tersilap tutur bicara, jemari disusun, maaf dipinta. Demikian tadi dan seterusnya majlis akan disambung sebentar lagi dengan Majlis Anugerah Perkhidmatan Cemerlang dan Sijil Perkhidmatan Cemerlang Fakulti Perubatan. Hadirin dan hadirat diminta kekal berada di tempat masing-masing. Pesanan penaja, pastikan telefon bimbit anda dalam silent mode. Terima kasih.